Like most of the US, we just had the 3 coldest nights that we will have in the next decade. Because of modern forecasting, I knew it was coming and I was able to get prepared. I learned a lot about how to prepare for cold weather events like this, and this is what I learned.
So what's in here, baby?
This is pumpkin and flax and triple crown, and I have added a lot of water to it to try to add to their hydration. They don't love to drink the cold water, so to keep them hydrated, I just add water to their food.
And you got pumpkin in there.
Everybody gets pumpkin and flax. This is for the pigs, and this has pumpkin and flax in it as well. I put some minerals in there today too. And everybody gets more water. This is gonna be heavy.
Just let him go at it.
He got his feet stuck in there. It's so funny.
Twinkle? Clever girl.
First of all, there's some really strange advice out there. And it's really bad advice. With this winter weather approaching, all of the Facebook groups and the Homestead websites and the YouTube channels are just full of people who are like, hey, I've been doing this for 10 years. Here's my advice. And I was just eating it up because I don't like the idea of losing animals to cold weather. I was just stunned that there's so much division and really hateful talk between homesteaders and people that farm. One of the biggest arguments that I noticed in the preparation for this winter storm was people arguing about whether or not to put a blanket on your horse. And there's people who will really make fun of you if you put a blanket on your animal. And I think the logic there is a little bit flawed because in their mind they say this animal is it's a creature of the wild. They live in the wild, they survive in the wild, and they will be fine on your farm. But there's a couple of problems with that, because logically, if you're following that, then I'm assuming that you also don't have a farrier come take care of their feet every 6 weeks. Because why would they need their feet? Why would they need human intervention at all if they don't need a blanket? They don't need any human intervention, right? And I know equestrians are taking care of their horse's foot, because otherwise you're going to lose your animal, and they're not going to be a performance animal anymore. But also, we have to remember that we live in parts of the world where we've imported these animals. Donkeys did not, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but donkeys did not originate here in North Carolina. It got 9 degrees outside, and they're desert animals. Not like the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, like Mexico Desert. First of all, it's weird that you care. If I'm not hurting my animal and I'm just taking an extra measure of precaution, it's weird that you care, right? But we also have to remember that we have bred out some of these dominant genes of our animals with all the crossbreeding and the animal husbandry that we do. And hi, baby, I'm talking about you. But across the board, everybody agrees on the watering situation. Now, the water freezes, and animals that are eating a lot to stay warm and that aren't drinking enough, this is colic season, and this is why. Because the water freezes, they don't have access, they can't hydrate their insides, and then they get an impaction, and then that turns into all kinds of problems in their gut. And so I'm out here, the weather got up to 38 degrees today, so I could use my outdoor pipe and fill up a couple of trash cans and a couple of coolers full of water. So I'm going, and in everybody's feed bin that I have lined up over here, the first thing I'm doing is putting water in their feed bowl. I'm going to add their grain to it. And my donkeys don't usually get grain, but this is one of the ways that I help them with their hydration. I add a ton of water into their grain. It softens it, makes it easier to chew, but also if they want to eat, they're going to have to drink it. And so that's how I keep them hydrated. So I am going to go and keep filling up waters and adding food to all of these bucket bins over here. Come on, babies. There's food everywhere for you. Come on. Now, I will say there's a lot of strong advice about not heating your barn with the wrong equipment. Some people do need to heat their barn because of how cold it is. We only got down to 9, but some people are dealing with negative 25. So we don't heat our barn. We have heat lamps over there that we have used in an emergency situation, but it's a really bad idea to use heat lamps instead of brooder plates for your baby chicks. And your older chickens, most likely, if they're in a coop that was built well, they don't need a heated space. There's a lot of videos out there on how to insulate your coop and get it winterized, but the main idea is that there can't be a draft, but there does need to be ventilation, and there needs to be a way for humidity to escape. And so in our barn, we don't have any drafts coming in through the slats over here for this gigantic coop, but we do leave the window. Oh, you can't see it from here. There's a window on top of our barn that stays open, and it can be vented through the rafters and up through that winter, and it stays open even in the snow. So no drafts, but you do need to have ventilation, and they need to have enough entertainment and room and fresh water and stuff so that they don't start to turn on each other, because animals in confined spaces with limited resources will kill each other. The type of bedding that you have in your area can really increase heat. Now, in my coop, we're doing the deep litter method all winter, which means I'm just adding more and more straw or cedar shavings or pine shavings, whatever the bedding, or those pine pellets are really good too. They absorb water, they help to keep it dry and clean, and then I add lime in once a month to rid of all the ammonia and the parasites and whatnot that can build up in there. What happens is it just organically generates heat, a lot like a compost pile or a mulch pile will. The floor of this coop is generating a lot of heat just because we're doing the deep litter method. In your stalls for your pigs and your horses and whatever else you may have, straw is a really great insulator. I have a pig that I cannot get upstairs into this closed off barn. I have open stalls. This barn is kind of built on a chicken. This barn is built on a This barn does have like a basement to it on one side, and it has 3 open stalls. There's a big draft, and I can't get this pig. She just lost all of her babies. I can't get her up into this big barn with everybody else. She's just very unwilling to eat or move. So to keep her safe, I'm adding a ton of cedar shavings and pine shavings and hay on top of her, and she goes and she digs in. I've had a hard time getting her to eat, so I added a ton of molasses to her food, and that helped her to drink and eat. You can add water to their feed, but I think we can all agree that it would be nice if they had free access to water at all times. So how do you keep it from freezing? There's a million ways that you can do this. The easiest thing that I have found is just to get a heated bucket. Even in our barn, whoa, it's dark over here. We just have a heated bucket plugged in right here, and the water stays de-iced at all times. We have pastured horses that don't have access to a closed-in barn or a huge stall that keeps them very, very warm. But what we do have is a run-in shelter. Now, sometimes they don't use it because you can lead a horse to water, all of that. But if we can put a round bale of hay in there, which I really don't love putting food into their run-in shelter because then they kind of resource guard that shelter. But in the winter, in a situation like this, it's totally worth it. Giving them a round bale is just one of the ways to warm them up because eating really warms them up. And one of the best things for them to eat is a long-stemmed forage grass. And so they have a round bale out there, and they don't have a heated barn, but they do have a run-in shelter with access to some food that's going to heat them up. Well, that is how we survived the icy weather of a lifetime. I hope you enjoyed our video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.